So it looks like we've got a little bit over half of all the people who pre-registered are online right now, and it's about 8 minutes after 7 p.m. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So I wanted to first welcome everyone to tonight's member information session to review the Dutchess County Art Association's proposed affiliation and merger with the Artifact. My name is Joanna Frang. I'm the Executive Director at the Barrett Art Center. And I'd like to also welcome everyone sitting with us on the panel tonight. We've got a good group of people with us. We've got our board of directors from Dutchess County Art Association. And I will ask everyone to please just say hello and wave your hand so everyone at home can identify you as we go through the list of people here tonight. So we've got Loretta Spence, who's the president of our board.
Hello.
We've got Mike DeCutis, who's our treasurer.
Hi, everyone.
Nikki Hung, who is our secretary, who is muted. And Tim Dean, who's also on our board.
Hello, I'm here. You can't see me, but I'm here and we'll try and get on with the video as soon as I can.
Awesome. We also from the Artifact, we have Gay Mallet, who's the board chair at the Artifact.
Hi, everyone.
And Nicole Fenichel Hewitt, the executive director at the Artifact.
Good evening. Hi.
And also rounding out the group tonight is Michael West from NYCON, the New York Council on Nonprofits.
Good evening, everybody.
Great. Well, thank you all, and thank you all for joining us from home. And I will pass this over now to Mike DeCutis to describe the format for the rest of the evening and the info session and how things will operate.
Cool. Thanks so much for introducing everyone, Joanna. We'd like to just take a minute here to describe what we have planned for the information session. That way everyone on the call has an idea of how things will flow. For the first part of the session, we'll be providing an overview of different aspects of the affiliation where you'll get to hear from everyone who just got introduced and that you see on the screen. It'll also include some slide presentations and visuals for a few of the topics. The second half of the night will be a question and answer session where we get to hear from you. We'd like to address any specific concerns through those question and answers. We have some pre-submitted, so we'll start with those. We'll be utilizing the Q&A function of Zoom to have members, you guys, submit anything anonymously that we can answer, and the panelists who can best address the question will grab it and provide a response. If you look out on the bottom of your Zoom window, you'll see a Q&A button as part of the Zoom function, where you'll be able to submit that question at any point during the presentation. So if you think of something early on, just submit it. It will sit there and wait until the second half, and we'll be able to address it at the end. So thanks, everyone. And now that our session is all outlined for us, I'd like to introduce Loretta, our board president, who will kick off the session for us.
Thanks so much, Mike. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We're really excited to share with you some of the work that we've been doing, which has led to this really exciting possibility of affiliation, and we hope eventually a full merger with the Artifact. And we're eager to hear from you tonight. First, though, on behalf of our full board of directors, I would like to recognize those past presidents and executive directors who are here with us tonight. Jose Gomez, Wayne Lemke, Ellen O'Shea, and Ursula Morgan. Their hard work and dedication sustained the organization over the years and helped to establish Barrett Art Center's reputation for presenting high quality visual arts programming. And we would not be here exploring this wonderful opportunity to expand our reach and our relevance in the community without them. So we are very grateful to them for their contributions. Joanna will go into detail about the process of our strategic planning, but I would just like to give you some brief background now. After years of financial struggle, which predate the COVID-19 crisis, and also decreasing membership and volunteer support. Additionally, after having received the results of a historic structure report, which shows that our building at 55 Knoxville Street is in need of major and long delayed work just to stabilize it and possibly to make some small improvements. We realized that we needed to approach our planning in a different way. We took this very seriously. We carefully considered and examined many alternatives. For example, returning to an all-volunteer structure with no paid staff, selling the building and renting another space, partnering or merging with another organization that might share some or all of our mission. After countless conversations with other nonprofit organizations and community leaders, Barrett's board of directors identified this really amazing opportunity to partner with the Artifact. It's important for you to know that during the affiliation, we have a full calendar of programming planned for 55 Knoxville Street. It will continue to be used for exhibitions, programs, and artist studios. Current staff will remain on site there and also coordinate exhibitions and programming at the Artifact. What excites us, though, the most about this potential affiliation and merger, which we hope that you will support, is that it would represent the fulfillment of Thomas Weeks Barrett Jr.'s vision, one that he proposed to the city's Common Council in 1945, to have a permanent venue for the arts in the city of Poughkeepsie. The Artifact welcomes this opportunity to steward the history of the Dutchess County Art Association, and also to advance Barrett's original mission. Together, we know that we can grow and deepen our impact in the community in really exciting new ways. So we'll now hear from Joanna and Nicole, who will share some slides with you and also give you some information on how our two organizations came to be working together in this way.
Awesome, thank you, Loretta. It really is my pleasure to share a little bit about the process, more about what Loretta just described that brought us to this exciting affiliation and merger opportunity. So it was a little over a year ago in late fall 2019 that Barrett leadership undertook a strategic planning with a consultant to address the sustainability of the organizational mission in light of the context of our nearly 200-year-old building. And after 3 years of study that we started in 2016 with an architect, we finally had in hand a historic structures report, which included projected costs to add accessibility and stabilize the building. And at the same time, we identified our real commitment for our mission, which was to the successes and commitment of delivering impactful exhibitions and community arts programs that was, separate from the building. And we're actually really lucky to have a rich record of our organization's history, which helps us tie our current mission back to the founding. While the organization started showing exhibitions across Dutchess County all the way back in 1934, within a little over a decade, it became clear that there was community need for a permanent space dedicated to the arts. And Thomas Weeks Barrett Jr. neatly summarized the intended impact that the DCAA in such a space could have. He said, what's here, it could create a spirit of community pride and cooperation, which would promote unity and understanding, be an important adjunct to the educational system, and broaden the opportunities of its people on a youth and adult level to serve the community and their fellow man. So those founding goals really orient us in our service to the community. This kind of impact would be constrained by the ongoing costs of properly stabilizing, restoring, and maintaining our historic building. Our community needs exhibitions and programs offered in a space that is fully accessible to people of all ages and all physical abilities, and a space that can accommodate actually more than a handful of visitors, artists, and youth at a time. And so with this guiding mission in mind, we set out to identify partners and spaces that would help us bring high caliber arts enrichment to Poughkeepsie. Looking around, one organization and one location presented the perfect fit of mission, long-standing community impact, and a visionary team that is equally committed to promoting the arts as a catalyst for revitalization. The synergy between our current programs and our visions for the future is undeniable.
Thanks, Joanna. So the Artifact, for those who don't know, is a recently merged organization. Spark Media Project and Mill Street Loft, two strong, long-standing arts and cultural education organizations, joined to become the Artifact beginning in 2017, combining over 60 years of experience working with young people and artists in our community. And when we combined, we brought together the incredible legacy, vision, programs, people, and missions of our two original organizations. And in all of our coming together, there actually was a real limit, a physical limit that restricted our ability to be in one building together. We simply just couldn't fit all together here in the renovated barn owned Pershing Ave that was previously housing Mill Street Loft and now the Artifact here in Poughkeepsie. So instead, we have here on Pershing Ave, where I'm sitting right now, a studio downstairs that could double as a gallery and administrative desks on our second floor. And we have a separate studio where we could do our film and photography courses just a few blocks away at the Poughkeepsie Underwear Factory. But we knew that we would need a new space, one that fits our broader mission and the bigger impact that we were planning to make as a merged organization. So space became something that immediately we felt we needed to find a new home. Meanwhile, we were invited with the community to participate in some visioning for a historic building that Roy Budnick was developing in partnership with Hudson River Housing and support from Mass Design, the Trolley Barn. I remember seeing notes from that very first community visioning session that was actually held in April of 2017, the same year that Spark and Mill Street were coming together, and how closely that community vision aligned with the work of the Artifact. People wanted arts, people wanted youth programming, education, media studios, and that was in the first meeting. So I joined the Trolley Barn committee. Joanna was also on it, and we sat on there with many other arts organizations and artists. And as the vision for this beautiful redeveloped space became more clear, it became more and more aligned with the Artifact's goal of being in a large center in the heart of the city that not only creates access to our programs within the community, but can also showcase the impact of the arts through a transformative gallery space. And so despite that big vision, running a gallery and an exhibition space was really new terrain for the Artifact. We had a gallery, but we were mostly showing our own student work. So we recognized that we needed to partner with experts to develop a space and programming to bring this vision to life. And that's where the partnership with Barrett Art Center became extremely exciting to the Artifact, because Barrett's expertise in partnering with artists and curating incredible exhibitions, developing meaningful programming, was just a very beautiful organic solution to meeting the needs of both the partners and combining our efforts to bring this historic space to life in our community.
Thanks, Nicole. So in light of our shared goals that we've both just kind of described to really catalyze change and inspire creativity, and our recognition of the transformative potential of the Trolley Barn, our two organizations have already begun to partner in the space. I'm thrilled that we're partnering on our inaugural collaboration, Homesick, an international juried exhibition, which opened last Friday at the Trolley Barn. It's been an incredible opportunity to partner with the Artifact staff and the youth on this project. Working together, we've been able to combine Barrett's curatorial and gallery management expertise with the Artifact's youth talent and community engagement, all coming together to create a groundbreaking curatorial initiative that empowers local young people with the skills, the experience, the mentorship to guide the gallery's exhibitions and programming, all in collaboration with professional artists and curators. And I hope you will come visit the gallery space soon. That's just catching us up to where we are today. And I am going to pass this back to Loretta for just a few moments.
Thank you, Joanna. We just wanted to speak a little bit about your Barrett Art Center membership. We know that many of you may be concerned that you will be losing some or all of the benefits of your Barrett Art Center membership during this proposed affiliation and merger. We assure you, though, that that is not the case. In fact, your membership will become more valuable to you through this process. Barrett Art Center membership benefits will continue with the same opportunities to exhibit at 55 Knoxville Street, receive discounts on entry fees for national juried exhibitions, and reduced commission fees. While members will no longer be have voting responsibilities, members will gain some new benefits, such as opportunities to exhibit in the Trolley barn space, discounts on classes there, and entry fees for juried exhibitions. Membership dues will continue to support operations at 55 Knoxville Street. The responsibilities of membership, including attending the annual member meeting to ratify the roster of the board of directors and to approve the annual financial report, however, will be transferred to the Artifact. Joanna will now give you some information on how the opposed affiliation will affect exhibitions and programs.
Thanks, Loretta. As Loretta just mentioned, much of our exhibition schedule at 55 Knoxville will be maintained through the affiliation, with the added benefit of new opportunities at the Trolley Barn. And this space has already been host to exciting community events, including PK Go Getters event with HBO in the space and Artifact After Hours, or Art After Hours, a time for community members to gather and connect. And throughout the affiliation and into the future in the merger, we hope to develop even more new opportunities for members to gather and learn and experience art in this beautiful space. And now I think Mike has a few words to say about 55 Knoxville Street.
Sure, thank you, Joanna. I'm going to go over two topics that we know are so important to our members on the call. The first is what exactly will happen to 55 Knoxville Street during this process. During the affiliation period, our exhibitions, like Loretta kind of went over, will continue at 55 Knoxville with a combination of national jury, group, and solo exhibitions, as well as member and open juried shows. The two art studios will continue to be actively used by working artists and the Barrett kids after school programming. As you can see on the slide outlined, we have a full calendar planned for 2021 and 2022 with exhibitions and programming occurring at Knoxville Street, just like they always have. If the affiliation leads to a full merger, all galleries and studios will be moved over to and housed at the new space at the Poughkeepsie Trolley Barn, which we got to hear from Nicole, and the building at 55 Knoxville Street would be sold. With that being said, we can all be assured that any use or restoration by a future owner of 55 Knoxville would have to comply with national, state, and local historic preservation guidelines. Also, the sale of the building would need to be reviewed and approved by the New York Attorney General, and any proceeds from the sale of the building must be applied to the continuation of the mission of DCAA Barrett Art Center. So that's reassuring. The second important thing is what will happen to the Barrett name. And we're probably all wondering what's going to happen with that name during this process. Dutchess County Art Association actually operates under the name Barrett Art Center with a DBA. Once the affiliation is made effective, the new relationship with the Artifact will be recognized by the name Barrett Art Center, an affiliate of the Artifacts. That will become our DBA name. The potential merger will open up even more opportunities to preserve the Barrett legacy through naming possibilities with exhibition space or programs in the Trolley Barn. Our name, history, and legacy will not be lost during this process. Thank you for letting me provide some information on those two important topics. I'd now like to introduce Gay Mallett, who is the board chair of the Artifact, who has a few comments for everyone.
Thanks, Mike. And it's really great to have all of you here tonight. So on behalf of the board of directors of the Artifact, I'd like to express our enthusiasm for this affiliation. On February 9th, 2021, just a month ago, a little less than a month, the Artifacts Board of Directors held a vote and unanimously approved the resolution to affiliate with Dutchess County Arts Association, AKA Barrett Arts Center. As Nicole mentioned, the Artifact has recent experience in a nonprofit affiliation and merger. The image you see is from our first I've been on mute the whole time.
Not the whole time, no.
Oh,
Just for a few seconds.
I'm so sorry. I leaned on something. Okay. Well, I'll just back up and just bear with me if you've heard this. But as Nicole mentioned, the Artifact has recent experience in a nonprofit affiliation and merger. The image you see is from our first major event from our affiliation at our 2017 Friends of the Arts Award. We understand the work, rewards, and challenges involved in successfully bringing two agencies together. We have significant care and considerations to these decisions as we understand how they impact the community we serve. After our due diligence process led by New York Council on Nonprofits, we believe that this affiliation will have a very positive impact on our community. Please know as you make this decision that we at the Artifact are committed to stewarding the incredible history and mission of Barrett Arts Center. We are excited to work with many of you as we enter a new stage of our evolution. As Joanna referenced earlier, we have already enjoyed great success together at our ribbon cutting at the Trolley Barn last Friday night, when Joanna advised the unique youth-led curation program called Homesick. It is not only an amazing exhibit, it also showcases the powerful results and community outreach this affiliation provides. And so with that, I'd like to hand this back over to Joanna and Nicole, that I'm already referring to as a dynamic duo, to outline some of the exciting vision of this partnership.
Oh, thank you, Gay. So Nicole and I will tag team a little bit here, talking about the future of our affiliation together. So we want to share with everyone a little bit more about the exciting outcomes of our joining forces at the historic Trolley Barn. It's located at 49 Main Street. The Trolley Barn's in the process of being redeveloped as a property of Hudson River Housing with the Artifact as its master tenant. Some of you may be familiar with the large 3,000 square foot gallery space at the front of the building. You've seen some images from that space already tonight, and you see it here on the right, all lit up for an event in the evening. The building actually expands another 14,000 square feet to the rear behind the gallery, where the Artifacts will operate studios, classrooms, administration, and independent artist studios, where there is an exciting potential for arts residency programs. This rendering by Mass Design highlights part of the L-shaped extension behind the galleries to show how the co-location of the gallery and the studios will create a center of arts activity for all of our neighbors. Ultimately, our work together inside the Trolley Barn will create an ideal platform for even more outreach into the community.
So as you see, there's more to the building than the gallery. A lot of people don't realize, and there's a lot more to our vision than the building. We actually plan to extend far beyond the walls of the Trolley Barn. The Trolley Barn will act as an anchor community agency that provides more jobs and more activities for people who live in Poughkeepsie. Our expanded programming will increase visitors and energize the local economy in the Middle Maine and Poughkeepsie Innovation District, and more broadly throughout Poughkeepsie and Dutchess County. We are going to build on the Artifact experience in youth-driven public art projects, like you see here with the pavement and the children's homes murals. We're going to be working on extending the art making that we do into the area surrounding the Trolley Barn. The Youth Arts Empowerment Zone is what we are naming this exciting vision that we have for the development in and around the Trolley Barn. It's a newly forming plan to establish a youth arts district along Main Street in Poughkeepsie. And the artifact will engage professional artists, work alongside emerging artists in our community to develop arts festivals that result in at least one permanent piece of artwork in the community every year, creating a more beautiful, inspiring, and eventually more safe environment. As we know, arts pave the way for economic growth and community engagement, and we are really excited to play a role together here in Poughkeepsie.
And just speaking of geography for Poughkeepsie, I wanted to take a moment to situate you in the neighborhood of Middle Main and what we kind of envision as developing an arts corridor along the Fallkill Creek with the Trolley Barn at the hub, flanked by the Poughkeepsie Underwear Factory to the east and Fallkill Creative Works to the west. And in this image, we have a rendering of what the space along the creek could develop into as imagined by Mass Design. It's a creekside amphitheater. It could be used for performances, community gatherings, art fairs, and installations of public arts projects. And this is all part of what we envision can happen with the Trolley Barn anchoring this arts corridor along Main Street. And so for me, thinking back to the vision that inspired the first arts exhibition in Dutchess County and the founding of the DCAA in 1935, I can think of no better place for our organization to be joining forces with the artifact at the Trolley Barn in this new creative nexus.
And as we're developing this vision, Artifact is so excited to be working with Joanna and Barrett Arts Center to continue to develop our vision together and implement this impactful partnership in this re-energized space. The synergy between the agencies is going to result in a very deep impact here in our community and in support, and it will support the development of the art scene in Poughkeepsie in a meaningful way. And as I've seen with our most recent affiliation and merger, that together, I believe we can be greater than the sum of our parts.
So we appreciate, thank you, all of you allowing us to present our vision for what we see the future of this affiliation can be and it can bring to both of our organizations as well as the community. And right now, we'd like to hear from you, and so we can answer some of your specific concerns about with questions and answers that have already been provided to us. And Nikki Hung, our board secretary, will be moderating the question and answer portion of the evening, starting with a few pre-submitted questions.
Thank you, Joanna. Just one moment while I find my place. All right, so I have our first question coming up. In addition to member show opportunities at the Trolley Barn, what other opportunities will there be for members as a result of the merger? Loretta?
The Artifact and Barrett Arts Center are working together to provide new resources for members, not only for exhibits, also down the road opportunities to gather, to attend lectures, screenings, special member events, to participate in classes and intergenerational educational programs, and also invaluable mentor partnerships for youth.
Thank you, Loretta. Second question, what will happen to the Barrett collection, Thomas Weeks Barrett's art and the family archives, the building at 55 Knoxville Street that was bequeathed to DCAA?
I can take that. So as we said, we're really excited that the artifact values the history of the DCAA and the legacy of Tom Barrett and the Barrett family. And together, we're committed to continuing to preserve the archives and the art collection as a whole, and as part of the affiliation and the potential merger. And on the house, I'm going to hand that over to Mike West.
Barrett family donated the current building, 55 Knoxville, to the Barrett Arts Center. It was part of the family will. There's a deed to the property. There are no restrictions on use of the property built into the deed. The will indicated a desire to have the property to be used to advance the arts. That is still a goal that we hope that we strive to be able to accomplish, but it's not a legal requirement that the property be used to advance the arts. If it was, it would have been built. There would be a specific provision in the deed requiring the building to be used in that way. So there are a lot of options on the table in terms of what the future of the building might be.
Thank you, Mike. Our next question that's up on the table. Will we get to vote again on a merger after we vote to affiliate? How is this different than a complete acquisition of assets?
I could probably answer that one. Just to be clear in terms of terminology, it's not an acquisition of assets. That this is a proposed partnership between two charities. So charities aren't owned by anybody and they can't own one another. So the idea is there would be a partnership between Barrett and the Artifact. The Artifact would temporarily be what's called a corporate parent of Barrett, with the idea that a merger may be forthcoming. There's still a lot of details that would need to be worked out. So as part of that, there is no asset acquisition. There is just a question of one corporation exercising control over the other, with the idea, again, as a partnership, that there's the hope that there will be a merger once details can be put into place. In terms of the duties or responsibilities of members, in order to properly structure it, I'll try to avoid the legalese on it. In order to properly structure the relationship, it would be necessary for you as members, for those of you who are voting members, to authorize the transaction. Once you did that, you in essence transfer your obligations as individual members to the Artifact as what's called a corporate member. So basically the Artifact would essentially assume your current responsibilities in terms of the election of the board and authorizing other transactions. So next week, when the board will convene its vote, if the vote is in favor of affiliation, that would be the final act of the current individual directors. Thereafter, there wouldn't be any responsibility to attend an annual meeting or to elect the board. That would be transferred to the Artifact until such time as there might be, and hopefully will be, a merger, farther down the road.
Thank you, Mike, for clarifying that for me. So our next question up, will Barrett continue to have an executive director and staff on site?
I can grab that one, Nikki. So really what's happening during an affiliation period and what's going on behind the scenes is there's two legal organizations that will remain separate legal entities. So we will still have a legal entity of Dutchess County Art Association. And what happens is there's a sharing of staff that will be outlined in an agreement between those two organizations, since they are separate legal entities. The details of exactly how that will look and how it will operate on a day-to-day basis remains to be finalized. So the employees can be housed by either organization, and those details haven't been totally sorted out yet, kind of based on some of the actions of this evening. So once that's figures out where we actually home the employees, it's expected that the current Barrett staff will remain employed and serve both organizations in blended roles. So they will still be manning 55 Knoxville Street and keeping those hours open and such. But we really value the staff, and they've done a lot over the last year, especially. There's been a lot of challenge, a lot of extra work we've put on them with more limited resources. So we're definitely looking out for them in the entire process as well.
Thank you, Mike, for answering that question. Next question, it's actually a little bit of a two-parter. How is expansion into a new space more sustainable than staying at 55 Knoxville Street? And the second part of that question is, are the current financial challenges due to the pandemic?
I can take that one if no one else wants to.
Thank you, Loretta.
Okay. All right. Actually, there's many ways that this move will make Barrett Arts Center more sustainable and provide the opportunity that so many of our members and supporters have long wanted, to enable Barrett Arts Center not only to survive and to struggle to survive all the time, but to thrive. By combining resources of talent, artistic vision, managerial experience and skill, finances, both Barrett Art Center and the Artifact will become stronger organizations. Each will develop greater efficiencies in administration, in day-to-day operations, in program development, and also in resource development through grant writing, special events fundraising, and individual and corporate donor cultivation. Being in a larger, modern, and more accessible space will allow us to do more to serve artists and our communities. We will be able to create programming that is not possible at 55 Knoxville Street, just due to the physical limitations of that venue and its urgent need for $1 million in repairs and improvements. We will generate new revenue streams as a result of this. We believe that the Artifacts and Hudson River Housing's creative adaptive reuse of a historically significant City of Poughkeepsie building, the Trolley Barn, will excite more and better known curators to become involved in our programming, increasing audiences for exhibitions as well as sponsorship opportunities to support them. We're really thrilled to have this opportunity to affiliate with the Artifact, a visionary and a highly successful organization that has contributed so much to the Middle Maine initiative. We're excited to think of Barrett Art Center becoming a part of that cultural corridor that Joanna told you about, which is the Trolley Barn, the Fallkill Creative Works, and the Underwear Factory. Just 15 or 20 years ago, if you think about it, that kind of artistic development would never have been thought possible or viable in the City of Poughkeepsie. So we just don't want to miss the opportunity to have the Dutchess County Art Association, Barrett Art Center, our county's oldest visual arts organization, play a role in the continued development, artistic development of the City of Poughkeepsie, and all of the benefits that that will bring to the city and to its youth, especially its future. Finally, as individuals who have the fiduciary and legal obligation to do what is right for Barrett Art Center and to carry out its mission in a way that makes good practical business sense, not a way that's just emotionally driven, because we all love Barrett Art Center and the house. I lost my voice. We just didn't want to miss this opportunity to be able to act from the position of strength that we're in right now. We are now in a situation where we're not carrying any debt, where we have strong, established, high-quality programs. We have a wonderful staff, and we have a board that's committed, and a wonderful, wonderful partner that's interested in affiliating with us. We think this is the absolute best way to carry on Tom Barrett's legacy. And more importantly, we think that it's the way not to lose that legacy, not to lose everything that so many people have worked for and loved over the years, which is not only the house, but it's the mission, it's the programs. It is Tom Barrett's legacy that we're really trying to preserve here.
Thank you, Loretta, for answering that question. So we actually have a couple more questions that are coming up on our Q&A section. So if you have a question that you are still interested in having us answer, please feel free to type it into the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and that way we'll be able to answer it before the end of the meeting tonight. So I have a question that's coming up. What are the most pressing obstacles right now moving into affiliation and to potential merger? And are there human capital needs, and in what capacities? Would somebody like to take that question?
Well, one of the pressing obstacles is the member vote, which is why we're here this evening to go over some of the details of course, that's a key component in this being successful.
I would be happy to speak to the human capital needs.
Mhm.
You know, there's so many. We need human capital. So yeah, we welcome people to participate. Everything from sitting gallery hours to hanging exhibitions to working with our young people. We're going to be looking for a ton of partners, and we're, you know, this is an expansion. So on top of bringing on the staff from Barrett, we are going to need to grow in both development and programming and administration. So that's all part of our, you know, multi-year vision. Our first step is to bring the Barrett team on. And then, you know, we're currently actually have a couple job openings on our website. So if anyone's looking to work with us, please check it out. But lots.
Thank you.
Nicole and Joanna, I think it is important that all the volunteers who have put in so many hours for the Barrett House, you know, that they know that that need still is going to carry over to the new mission and hopefully even expand. I don't want the volunteers to think that they'll no longer be needed.
On the contrary, you know, the volunteers are the lifeblood of any not-for-profit organization. And, you know, I feel like that, you know, that definitely can carry over to the artifact with that passion and that tenacity that, you know, so many of us as who have been Barrett members and volunteers for so many years that, you know, we can bring to the artifact and to the city of Poughkeepsie arts community as well.
I agree, Nikki, because at the opening of Homesick, you got to see the trolley bar come to life with that exhibition. And I think seeing the Barrett members shows they're really going to help that space come alive. It'll be very nice to see.
Yeah, and as seeing like a lot of other shows that have been coming and going in that space, and you know, Barrett is not the only stranger to that space. It would be really nice. It's a beautiful space that we, you know, I definitely would love to see to come alive and grow, and especially after the pandemic is over, where there are so many opportunities for so many artists and art supporters in the community that we can definitely, utilize those assets to the best of our advantage. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Nicole, for answering those questions, and thank you, Tim. So our next question on the Q&A, since the Barrett Arts Center building has to be sold in a specific fashion, as you've mentioned earlier, who is going to be responsible for carrying the costs of 55 Knoxville Street until a viable and approved sale goes through?
Probably answer that, or at least a portion of it. As indicated, in order to transfer title to the building, we would need the approval of the Office of the Attorney General. So the whole process is definitely overseen by the state. In terms of responsibilities for carrying costs, it's a great question. Should the members elect to go forward with the affiliation, Barrett will still have a board of directors. It will still be governed by bylaws. It's just going to have an affiliate relationship with the artifact. But because it holds title to the building, and because the board retains all its fiduciary duties, the Barrett Arts Center would be legally responsible for all carrying costs for the building as long as it owns the building, and that'll all be overseen by the board of directors. So from a legal standpoint, what's happening with the building, nothing will change. It will be exactly the same. And again, transfer is definitely a very real possibility, but we haven't worked out any of those details yet. It's one of those things that would take time. So Barrett Arts Center, will continue to own 55 Knoxville for some time until arrangements can be made for an appropriate purchaser or suitor.
Thank you, Mike, for answering that question. Does anybody else have any additional questions that they would like to bring up before we start bringing this? Oh, there's somebody that does have a question. Just give me one moment while that question comes up. I do apologize. There's a little bit of a lag here.
Nikki, while that question's getting submitted, there was a second part to one of the other questions that I think was kind of important that referenced the financial challenges being due to the pandemic, and we kind of skipped over that. I think it's important just to talk through that real quick and acknowledge that, no, not really, like Joanna kind of outlined with the strategic planning, some of the challenges with the financial viability and sustainability of the model we had and our programming and operating out of the house was all identified actually pre-pandemic. If anything, the pandemic maybe just highlighted how fragile that model was and how we weren't really able to have a balanced budget with the model we were operating under. And if anything, the pandemic may have helped us extend it a little bit because we did get the Paycheck Protection Loan, which allowed us to keep operating for several extra months and actually help the process. So it's not a knee-jerk reaction to the pandemic or anything like that. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, thank you, Mike. And I believe this might be another question that might be hurled in your direction. So if this is because of financial difficulties for Barrett Arts Center, how do we continue to fund 55 Knoxville Street?
I could certainly answer that, although the legal details are probably in there about what falls under which organization. But essentially, we've been operating at half staff, which has been, where we've had the staff funded at half their salary levels and half the amount of hours. So that has helped with cash flow a bit. It's kind of, again, it has to be worked out in the shared services where the staff will actually be employed by, but hoping that on the artifact side, that can get restored. And we're still basically essentially financially only funding those half salaries or maybe even less on the Barrett side, which through income from exhibitions, and then maybe only paying potentially a quarter of the salaries out of the Barrett organization part of it would allow us to continue to keep the general maintenance of the house, snow removal, heat on, lights, those kind of things. I don't know, Mike, if that completely answers.
I think it's important to outline that those challenges were what partly brought us to this day, and we would have those whether we were merging or not under this scenario. And as Mike, as you said, we had actually received a grant, and we had several special board sessions to try and come up with ways to continue the mission of the organization while still dealing with the challenges of the building and its decayed state and its need for improvements. And so, it was before the pandemic that we had those problems. And so, it would be great if we could say, if not for the pandemic, we could continue on, but that's really unfortunately not the case. So it is going to be in the organization's best interest to try and do something with the building as soon as possible because of those continuing need for ongoing maintenance and the possibility at any time that something could break and cost a lot of money. So it will be a priority, I think, to try and address the building situation as soon as possible.
I agree with you, Tim, and especially how we're in a good state right now where we do have the choice of kind of taking the path where we can set up the building at 55 Knoxville Street to be in the best possible situation and to not fall into any more disrepair, and to be able to give it into loving arms, so to say, and to make sure that it will be able to, thrive for years to come, as well as the organization. Because I know, as one of the longest, right now I'm the longest serving board member on the board of directors. I have been affiliated with the organization for many years at this point. And I would love to see the organization to evolve into its next stage and to be able to see the building in whatever capacity it may become, in order, to see the building, not fall down, and to have a space for that we can do more with it and partner with more partners in the arts community. So I think that, and seeing, so Barrett has been through so many hurdles over the years of just going into survival mode and just trying to get through the next hurdle and the ebbs and flows of many historical financial struggles that we've gone through that, correlated with issues that have gone on with time. And, it would be nice to see, like, for a change, that Barrett does go into a good direction. And we have that opportunity, not just a board of directors and stewards of the building and the programs, but as a body of members where we have the opportunity to do that. So, I definitely feel very confident in this decision as a board member and a member and as an artist of the arts community to be able to go forward with this affiliation.
Very well said, Nikki. And to
Thank you.
Nikki's point, we're at the opportunity now where we're not running on fumes yet, and we do have some cash in the bank to be able to keep things operating at the house. If we wait another year, that wouldn't be the case. We might not be able to make a Central Hudson bill or something like that. So that's important to recognize.
Or in the worst case scenario, if the water heater explodes or something happens to the furnace and it's an old house and there are certain requirements that have to go on with fixing an old house. So, it's definitely, it's a little bit more precarious of a situation, rather than just dealing with renting in another building. So, time is of the essence, and we have that time on our side right now. I believe that we answered all the Q&A questions for now. Do I want to just give it like another minute or two if somebody else had any additional questions that might come in at the last minute?
And while you're waiting for that, allow me to speak just very briefly. I'm one of the newest members of the board of directors, and I just want everybody that's attending this meeting tonight to know that as I just became active in the organization and I participated in these sessions to try and come up with a way to both preserve the mission of the organization and to keep the house. I just want you all to know that Nikki and Loretta and Joanna and some of the other board members that are not here tonight, Mike is also newer like I am, but I saw the emotion and the passion that was involved with some of these decisions that we had to make. And literally, I can tell you that there were tears shed as we came to some of these conclusions that we couldn't continue on as things had been going on. And so I don't want anybody to think that this decision was made lightly by your fellow artists and board members who had to make these difficult decisions. And it really was a very, very serious and well thought out decision, I feel, by the board to go in this direction.
Definitely.
I have another question. So regardless of the pandemic and in a perfect world, the Barrett building can sell tomorrow, but realistically, how long can 55 Knoxville Street leave its doors open with current funding? That is, barring any major catastrophes, like just going as we are now.
I'm assuming we mean if the affiliation is approved and goes through, and it's just a matter of operating it during the affiliation period until a merger would allow it to be sold. But like I said, we have a decent amount of cash on hand and income from the exhibitions. They provide income, and one of our biggest expenses is staff. So if some of that can be absorbed over onto the artifact side, that would help kind of balance our budget, if you will, and not have us drawing off of the cash we do have on hand, which would provide, many months or more than a year probably worth of just simple operating costs as far as like utilities and snow removal and those type of things. So there's enough cash on hand, and we'll probably would generate more because considering we're not paying the entire salary at a competitive wage, we would essentially be taking in more profit from the exhibitions, which would contribute to that carrying on. So I don't think we'll have any trouble.
But to be clear though, Michael, I don't want people to think that what you're saying is that we have multiple years that we could survive. What you talked about is just sustaining. It does not anticipate any of the changes that would need to be made to the building within the next 12 months, to repair it or to work on the roof, the windows, things that need to be done. There's nothing in the budget for those. And as Nikki said, if the heater broke, or if we needed electrical work, or if there was a leak, we don't have any money for that. There's nothing set aside. So, I think a really fair, my opinion would be that we really don't have more than 12 months to operate the building just on a sustainable basis without something happening that's going to really just shoot a hole in our entire budget.
Yeah, that was more just as like a temporary
Sure.
affiliation until the building can be, that's kind of how I read the question. But
Sure.
no, if you're talking long term, do not have cash on hand to support some of those capital type expenses you mentioned, roof, water heater, those type of things. And also paying our staff a competitive wage for what they bring to the organization. It's only sustainable because a good portion of that could be picked up by the artifact.
Sure. So we could continue doing the programs that are on the calendar if we go through with the merger. And that would allow the building to be used. It wouldn't have to be boarded up, assuming nothing major happens. And it would give us time. We would be able to cover our basic expenses while we pursue another option for the building. So there is plans for a calendar of events to continue there post-merger for 2021 and part of 2022, from what I understand.
And that's really on the income we've gotten this year that's helped us kind of, get through the 2020 pandemic year is really, we have to thank Joanna and Trish, our staff, because they've been operating Barrett at the current level, navigating the pandemic, helping with all of these endeavors, all at half hours and salary. So if it wasn't for them really stepping up, we wouldn't have any income for this year, and we'd be in the scenario we said we'd be coming in on fumes and not being able to cover some of those costs while the affiliation happens.
Thank you.
It's true, they've done an extraordinary job. They've worked so hard, and they've been really so successful given the situation that they have to work with. So thank you, Joanna and Trisha, both.
So thank you so much for answering that question. I have another question in the Q&A. So are we boarding it up?
I tried to anticipate that by my answer about the schedule of events that are in play for the Barrett House for 2021 and part of 2022 if we go through with this affiliation. If the affiliation didn't happen, again, I'm just speaking from our discussions, and Michael, maybe you could comment, or Joanna, but I don't think, if we did not facilitate this merger, I don't think as an organization that we could go much past 12 months on this sort of just barely sustaining path that we have.
We're really not on a sustaining path because we're not compensating our staff for
Correct.
the amount of effort they're putting in. So it's not sustainable right now, actually.
Yeah. And the building, it's too expensive without income coming in, significant income. It's just too expensive to continue maintaining it. So.
And even if we make the investment, as has been pointed out, it doesn't buy us anything. It doesn't allow us to expand programming. It doesn't allow us to bring in additional revenue. The situation will never change until we make a move like an affiliation.
Yeah, and it seems like, we would be living kind of on borrowed time, whatever grants that we might be eligible for, whatever additional funding that we might be able to access, because that because by the grace of the gods that that we were able to get PPP funding for to be able to pay Trisha and to pay Joanna and to pay the rest of our staff. But yeah, it is not sustainable, especially for the compensating for the amount of time and energy that they put in compared to the salaries that they take home. I have another question from the Q&A, but it may have to be carried for a long period of time. What happens then?
So I'm going to make a comment and then other people can make a comment. The answer to that is that's a problem if we didn't affiliate and just try to keep going on our own. We would be in the same circumstance. This is the only path that gives us a possibility of being able to fund activities that are going on at the building until it can be sold. If we didn't have that going on there through the affiliation, we would be in that scenario even quicker than we are. So this is our opportunity to, in effect, buy us some time by having another partner who helps us to fund activities there and give the Barrett House enough income just to cover the basic necessities of that building being open. Without the affiliation, it would force us to have to move even quicker than we would now, which is, would be very difficult.
And not only that, but it also gives us the insecure options of not only what's going to happen with the archives if we don't affiliate. We might have to sell them off. We are going to have to, rehome equipment. We're going to have to disband programming that many people in the community have been going to, and some have actually been relying on for youth programming. So and then also with the archives too, we wouldn't be able to house them because we wouldn't have any place to put them. So those would have to get sold as well. So there's a lot more at stake, I feel like, that for a lot of the assets that we do have in the organization, if we don't go through with this affiliation and we do end up drawing out our runway within those 12 months, and then we end up with nothing.
And another point is that, funders recognize when organizations are in a precarious situation. And funders really do not want to make an investment in an organization that may not be there in a year or in 2 years. So given that, increasing grant writing significantly is really not an option for us in our circumstances either. And special events fundraising, you may make a good profit 1 year. It's not necessarily sustainable though, and it's very, very labor intensive. So we really don't have a lot of options at this point.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
And
Tim.
the people that are looking to give money to the Barrett House, they don't want it to go to repairing an old building. They're focused on our programs and our missions. It's unfortunate, but there is not enough, how would I say it, value to funders in restoring that building in order for us to continue our mission. They would rather the dollars go to the mission. And that's why being somewhere else where our occupancy costs are much less, and we have an opportunity for much larger displays and exhibitions and programs. That's one of the reasons that the board decided we couldn't continue at the house where it is. We can't have more children in the building if we don't have handicap accessible, disability accessible bathrooms. We would need an elevator to get to the second story. The same thing applies for seniors. If the building is not conducive to expanding its use because of the limitations, and to add those type of facilities to that house would be, as was mentioned, would be easily, we had estimates, easily $1 million, just not even to get fully accessible. So it just didn't make sense to think about asking people for that kind of money for our building when if you think about what $1 million could do in another location that would be used focused just on programming, it's just a much better investment.
Mm-hmm. I agree, Tim. I agree.
And that $1 million is without any of the walls even having been opened up. I mean, it may
Right.
actually be more expensive than that.
Correct. It's a
And
sad,
even with
but
that investment, it would
fact.
never be as beautiful a space as the trolley barn offers us.
correct.
I mean, that's really the ideal space.
Is there any other questions that anybody would have? We'll give another few seconds for people to come in and input their questions. Does anybody else, any of the panelists have any questions for anybody that might be lurking around?
I just have a comment after having gone through 2 mergers and 2 different types of organizations, that there's always a lot of fear. And but it's really in every case when you merge and you've done your homework, which both organizations have done, the benefits are extraordinary and it's worth the risk. And there is, of course, emotional and sentimental attachments to what you were, and everyone's afraid of losing that identity. But I can truly say that with the Artifact, because I was with Mill Street Loft and Nicole was with Spark Media, it was like a marriage made in heaven, to be really cliche. I'm sorry, but we brought 2 great programs together, and what only each organization could dream of having on their own and wasn't possible. Once we joined together, it was possible. So, because Spark joined Mill Street, we could do video and movies, and because Mill Street joined Spark, we could have the Art Institute available to a greater resource of kids. And it's just been powerful. And also, we mentioned grants, and people like when you merge, and they like when you take 2 good organizations and you join together and you become stronger, and they give you money, so that it's better to put your combine your strengths while you have your strengths, so that you can attract more, and it is an investable cause, and there are measurable results. And when you look at the results of the Artifact in the years that we've been merged together, the kids that have gone through all the different programs is extraordinary. Even during COVID, programs were going on and kids were getting paid through many different outreaches that we had, and Nicole could even specifically tell you those programs. But anyway, I just want to encourage people to be brave, and nobody's going to kill the spirit of Barrett. We're all excited to embrace it and to become even more. So that's my.
I think that what I've noticed, and I think the biggest difficulty, I think for long-term Barrett members, is the affiliation of the organization with that building. And, so it's the mission is one thing, and it's really important, but part of it, a lot of the members also were dedicated to the preservation of the building. And unfortunately, that's not something that's economically able to continue. And so I don't think anybody's questioning that the mission is going to be the same or get better. It's just the sadness of having to acknowledge that that building cannot be part of it. And that's really hard.
Where it's like, it's kind of like if anybody's ever seen the end of the movie Up, where the house just floats away, spoiler. And they're all like, kind of like bums, like, "I'm sorry about your house, Mr. Fredrickson," and the guy's like, "You know what? It's just a house.
It's not going to float away. It's on the historic registry. It's protected.
That's right.
Yes. And but it's like that. It's that analogy where it's like it's just a house. The organization is the people that really.
Yes.
A lot of people, they do. Barrett and the house on 55 Knoxville Street have always been one and the same. And many people have described the house as being the heart of the organization, but the people are the heart, and the people are the ones that bring the house to life. So, to be able to go to another location and still be able to do our programming and to help more people and to be able to still be a part of the arts community, I think that's a win.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Because the alternative, if we don't vote on it, is infinitely much more sad and was worse.
Very well said.
I don't have any more Q&As that are questions that are coming up in the Q&A panel. So I think that we're gonna start wrapping this meeting up. If anybody else has any other questions or comments.
I'd just like to thank everybody again for being here with us tonight, for taking time out of your evening to hear about our plans. Again, we really hope that you will support them. If you have any questions or you need more information, please reach out to us after tonight. We're happy to spend time speaking with you. If you have not voted yet, you can do so by returning that blue proxy form that we mailed to you. If you're going to send it through the US mail, please do that as soon as possible. We all know there have been delays with the mail recently. You can also just stop by the house or drop the proxy through the mail slot at 55 Knoxville Street. The other way that you can vote is virtually at the meeting that we have planned for March 10th at 7 p.m. Please know that you need to be registered for that meeting by 3 p.m. on March 10th in order to be eligible to vote. And the way that you would register for that is online at barrettartcenter.org/members-2021. That address was in the letter and also in the email that you received. So again, thank you so much for being here and for your interest in this potential affiliation.